back to Footprints Week 2. My name's Miss Loraina, or a lot of kids call me Miss L, okay? So last week, we had the chance to talk about our feelings. So let's review. Do we all have feelings? Absolutely. Good job, right? What can we use to share our feelings? What do we call it? If you said iMessage, you're absolutely right. Good job. Who can tell me the 2 magic words to start our iMessage? You can say it out loud if you know it. I feel. Very good job. Awesome. Now, before we get into our lesson this week, real quickly, okay? Coach Katrina talked to us last week, and at the end of our puppet show, they said something that we didn't get to go over, okay? Coach Katrina said that if we're ever angry, before we share our iMessage, we need to stop and calm down, okay? So I just wanted to remind you of that if we didn't get to pick up on it last time. Anytime we're really angry or we're really mad, it's important that we stop and calm down, right? So let's brainstorm. What are some ways that we can calm ourselves down if we're really angry? Yeah. I think some of us have some good ideas that maybe we could talk about later. But yes, you can ride your bike if you're really angry. You can just take a time out to yourself if you need a break, if you're really angry or mad or upset, okay? You can read a book. You can play slime or play a board game or something, right? So anytime you're really angry, the first thing you should do is always stop and calm down, okay? Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that when it comes to our journals and when I video call you guys, okay? But we're just going to go ahead and we're going to dive right into this week's lesson, okay? This week, we're going to talk about the word conflict, okay? And ways to solve our conflict, okay? Real quickly, let's talk about what that word conflict means, okay? Now, you may have heard the word conflict when you were in your reading or writing groups, right? You may have heard the word conflict when you're watching a movie or reading a book, okay? You have conflicts a lot, whether or not you realize it, okay? A conflict is just a word that means or is when 2 or more people argue, okay? A conflict is when 2 or more people disagree, right? So a conflict is your problem, right? So in the story of Cinderella, okay, for example, the problem is that she lost her shoe, right? One of the problems is she lost her shoe at the end of the night, and the prince had to find who it belonged to, okay? That problem, okay, could be a conflict, right? Because there's a lot of other people in that movie that wanted that shoe to fit them, right? So that's their conflict. You probably had a conflict at home. Maybe you really wanted pizza for dinner, but the adults you live with decided that you all were going to have broccoli and cheese casserole for dinner, right? You guys argued, you disagreed on it, okay? You wanted pizza, they made broccoli and cheese casserole. That's a conflict, okay? Maybe you argued on the playground about if you and your friends were going to play basketball or play kickball, okay? You guys arguing over what game to play? That's a conflict, right? We have conflicts often, okay? So it's important to remember a conflict is when 2 or more people argue when they disagree, okay? Now, you can have a conflict with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle. You can have a conflict with your friends, with your teachers, with the people you ride the bus with. Conflicts can happen, okay? With just about everyone, okay? We all have them. It's okay if we have them. It's a part of life, right? But what's important is how we solve them, right? There are actually 3 solutions to every conflict, okay? Every conflict has a solution, okay? There's 3 types of solutions, all right? We're going to go over those 3 solutions today, okay? So while we're going over these 3 solutions, we're going to pretend, right? We're going to use our imaginations, all right? I want us to pretend that our friend's coming over after school, right? Something simple. And that happens, and the end of the day comes, your friend hops in the car with you, or your friend hops on the bus with you, okay? You get home and you're so excited, right? You guys start talking back and forth. You're so excited. You want to have so much fun, but we don't know what we want to do, okay? We can't agree. You may want to go outside, but your friend, on the other hand, rather stay inside and play video games, okay? That's a conflict. You guys are arguing back and forth. You have a problem. You want to go outside. They want to play video games, okay? So that's our conflict, outside versus video games, okay? So we're going to use that example of outside versus video games when we are talking about our 3 solutions, okay? So let's say that while you are arguing with your friend back and forth, your friend gets so mad and frustrated with you and tired of arguing that your friend borrows a phone, calls home, and their adult comes and picks them up and they leave your house, okay? So your conflict then ends with your friend going home and now you have to play outside by yourself, okay? So your friend's mad and they leave and now you're home alone to play alone, right? So at the end of that, are you happy? No, right? At the end of that, is our friend happy? No, they didn't get what they wanted either. So if your conflict ends with not finding a way to work it out, no one in the conflict wins, no one at the end of the conflict is happy, we call it solution 1, and that we would call it a lose-lose solution. Lose-lose. It's a lose-lose because guess what? You lost, right? You need to go outside with your friends, so you're sad. And your friend lost. They're sad. They didn't get to play video games with you. So if a conflict ends and no one's happy at the end of it, we call it a lose-lose. Good job. Now let's use the same conflict and move on to solution 2, okay? So same conflict, outside versus video games. Except this time, instead of your friend leaving, our friend gets frustrated and is tired of the arguing and just goes, psh, whatever, let's just go outside and play and get it over with. So the conflict ends with you 2 going outside. Are you happy? Heck yeah, you're so pumped you're outside playing with your best friend in the whole wide world. But is our friend happy? No, right? Because that's not what our friend wanted to do. They just gave up to make us happy, okay? So if your conflict ends just like that, where the idea only works for one person, but the rest of the people in the conflict are sad or they didn't get something from it, we would call it a win-lose solution. Because you won the conflict, you're happy, right? You get to go outside with your friend. But our friend, they lost that conflict. They're sad because they rather play inside with video games, but instead they're stuck outside, right? So they lost. It is a win-lose. The idea we come up with only helps one person. So it's a win-lose, okay? That was solution 2, which means we have one more solution to talk about, okay? So let's use that outside versus video games one more time, okay? And at the end of it, you decide, let's take a step back. Let's figure this out. And you guys start brainstorming some different ideas. And you're like, I got it, right? Let's take turns. That's not hard to do, right? Let's go outside for an hour. And when we're done, we'll come back inside and play video games for an hour, okay? So at the end of that conflict, are you happy? Yeah, you are. You're playing outside with your best friend. You're so excited, right? Is our friend happy? Yeah, they are, because they get to play video games with us, okay? At the end of that conflict, we found a way, we found an idea that worked for everyone in that conflict. We found an idea that everyone was happy with, okay? And if we find a solution to a conflict that everyone likes, guess what we call it? That's right, a win-win solution, okay? A win-win because you won, you get to go outside with your friend, and your friend won. They get to play video games with you. We found a way to make it work for everyone, so it is a win-win. Now, Miss Loraina wants you guys, anytime you have a conflict, whether it's with your mom, your friend, your dad, your grandma, your uncle, your teacher, anytime you have a conflict, she wants you to take a second to stop and think How can we come up with a win-win? How can we end this conflict that works for everyone, okay? Now, are you always going to get this win-win? No, you're not, okay? Is that okay? Absolutely. It's okay. Sometimes you can't find an idea that works for everyone, and that's all right. But it's important that we try our best, okay? Now, with that being said, we are about to switch gears and talk about our puppet show, okay? Because in our puppet show today, there is a big conflict. There is something that none of our friends can agree on, okay? And so, Coach Katrina is going to talk to her team about solving their conflict, okay? She's going to talk to them about trying to find this win-win solution, all right? So, your job is to listen out for, did they even find that win-win? How did it end? And if it ended that way, what exactly was their solution? So, what did they use? What was their idea, okay? Now, Coach Katrina, like I said, is going to help her team with solving their conflict. But Coach Katrina, like Miss Loraina, likes to make things as easy as she can for you guys, okay? Just to make life a little simpler. So Coach Katrina is going to use something called a solution stoplight with her team, okay? This stoplight is 3 steps, red, yellow, and green, okay? Coach Katrina is going to tell her team to follow these 3 steps, and that makes finding a solution to your conflict as easy as red, yellow, and green. Okay, so I want you to listen out for her solution stoplight. But real quickly, let's just go over it. So it's in your noggin when Coach Katrina's on. All right. So our step 1 is red. When we see red at a stoplight, what do we do? Stop. Exactly. So step 1 is stop. This is where we take time to calm down and cool off, just like we talked about earlier. Okay, so you might go for a walk, grab a snack, take a time out. But red is we stop and calm down. Step 2 is yellow. When we see yellow, what do? Slow down. Very good job. Awesome. So step 2 of our solution stoplight is to slow down, is to go slow, and we think, talk, and listen. So when we are at yellow, we can brainstorm ideas. We are talking to those in this conflict. You might even use your I message for step yellow. And then our last step is green. Green, when we see it, means go. Good job. Awesome. And so our last step when we go is to choose the idea that works best for everyone. Okay? So I want you to think of it this way. When you see green to go, I want you to think green means solution, okay? So out of our 3 solutions, which one do you think is the one that works best for everyone? Would it be lose-lose, win-lose, or win-win? Win-win, right? Good job. Yeah. Win-win would be our solution that works for everyone, okay? So when we go in our solution stoplight, we are picking our win-win, okay? So listen out for Coach Katrina's solution stoplight. Listen out for the team's conflict so we can talk about it after our puppet show, okay? When I video chat you guys, all right? See you soon. Bye. Betsy Beaver and Pete Porcupine were in Betsy's room trying to come up with a new team logo and color for their soccer shirts. A pile of crumbled papers just lay in the trash can. Betsy Beaver says, I didn't think it would be this hard to come up with a logo that everyone could agree on. Pete Porcupine says, Serena Fox made me mad yesterday when she laughed at all of our ideas. I thought lightning was a good choice, and our shirts could have been bright blue with lightning on the front. Just then, Ricardo Raccoon runs into the room. Ricardo Raccoon says, You guys, wait until you hear this idea. The Green Bandits! Betsy looks at Pete and throws her hands in the air. Betsy Beaver says, That's a great idea, Ricardo. But you know Serena Fox hates the color green. Ricardo Raccoon says, Why does everything have to be her way? Ever since she joined that secret club, she thinks she's better than us. Just then, Serena Fox knocks on the door. Serena Fox says, Hey guys, any luck coming up with a good name? Ricardo Raccoon says, the Green Bandit sounds good to me. Serena Fox says, that is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard. Can't you do better than that? You know I don't look good in the color green, and the kids in my club will just think we're so uncool. Betsy Beaver says, yes, but you know you're not the only person on this team. We need to consider everyone's feelings and ideas. Ricardo Raccoon says, I'm so tired of hearing about your silly little club. Ricardo kicks the garbage can and storms out of the room. Serena Fox says, Betsy and Pete, you too better have a good idea about tomorrow. And remember, I do not wear the color green. Serena slams the door as she leaves. Betsy Beaver says, we should just tell Coach Katrina that we couldn't agree on anything. Maybe she'll know what to do. The very next day, Pete, Betsy, and Ricardo were kicking around the soccer ball while waiting for Coach. Serena sat all by herself. Coach Katrina arrives. Coach Katrina says, hi team, how's that logo coming? Betsy Beaver says, well, Coach, we're actually having some problems agreeing on a name and color. Ricardo Raccoon says, Serena Fox is a pain and she doesn't like any of our cool ideas. Serena Fox starts walking over and begins shouting. Serena Fox says, oh, you wouldn't know a cool idea if you fell on it. Coach Katrina says, team, this seems like a great time to teach you about the solution stoplight, where your goal is to come up with a win-win solution. A solution that everyone is happy with. First, everyone needs to stop and calm down. Coach Katrina then says, the second step is to take time to think, talk, and listen to each other's ideas. You might want to start by giving an iMessage. Ricardo and Serena, why don't you give it a try? Ricardo Raccoon says, I feel mad when I hear that the kids in your club are so cool and that their ideas are better because, well, I have good ideas too. Serena Fox says, I just felt left out when you got together with Pete and Betsy to come up with new names because no one even asked me about my ideas. Coach Katrina says, great, now that you know how each other feels, it's time to think of ideas that might work to solve this conflict. You can brainstorm ideas together. Ricardo Raccoon says, well, I still like my original idea, the Green Bandits. Serena Fox says, but I really don't like the color green. Ricardo Raccoon says, so what colors do you like? Serena Fox says, my favorite color is blue. Our other team members chime in. Pete Porcupine says, hey, I like blue too. We can use my idea about having blue shirts with lightning across the front. Serena Fox says, not lightning. Betsy Beaver says, okay, well, instead of lightning, how about stars? Ricardo Raccoon says, yeah, they can be gold stars. Pete Porcupine says, we could be the shooting stars. I can see it now. Blue shirts with gold stars streaking across the front. Coach Katrina says, now you're on a roll. Your final step is to come up with a win-win solution, to choose the idea that works best for everyone. Ricardo Raccoon says, I really like that idea. How do you feel about it, Serena? Serena Fox says, the shooting stars actually sounds like a winning team to me. Coach Katrina says, I'm impressed with the way that you all work together to solve this conflict. Now, it's time to play some soccer. Knee end. Good job, guys.